The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win now. Sign up today, bet 100 and get 100 free. Bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. And welcome, everyone, to another edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is our usual Wednesday show, which means it is time to preview the morning games. And this time we're in week number 14 already. I say that every single week, but yes, week number 14. And I'm Moneyline Mac, and obviously I am joined by my co-host every single week, J Mark Football, a.k.a. Old Fashioned Football. J Mark, what are we drinking this week on the Week 14 show?
We did a bunch of Jamesons. I got just your regular Jameson cold brew, which is amazing. It tastes like drinking cold brew coffee. And then we got this special one. There it is. I'm trying to look in the camera. The special one here, Middleton. You can only get it at the Middleton Distillery in Cork County. A 10-year anniversary gift from my parents when they were over in Ireland. They brought it back with them.
Nice. Yeah, no, and for those just tuning in, J Mark hosts the Old Fashioned Football, and what they do on that show, him and his wife go through fantasy football, go through the upcoming slate, recap the action from the weekend, while doing so, drinking some whiskey and bourbon. So, I mean, that's my cup of tea. That's why I tune in every single week, not only just for the fantasy knowledge, but also to hear what the beverage of choice is for the week.
And to hear us bicker, our buddy Rod Villagomez, he said it's kind of like when you're at a party and that couple starts bickering and you don't want to stare, but you can't help but just start looking at them as they go back and forth.
Yeah, no, it makes you feel good about yourself. It's like, maybe I'm not as bad as them.
That's right.
Yeah, everybody go tune into the Old Fashioned Football. J Mark, recapping week number 13, this one kind of was more chalky, I think. The favorites kind of rolled in week number 13. Any initial thoughts walking away from week 13?
Yeah, no, I agree. It kind of went how we expected. It's crazy that it's week 14. It seems like we were just doing our preview episodes, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it makes me sad.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you are big into fantasy football, most playoffs start next week. So this is a big week for you. But yeah, the games are good. I felt we lacked some of the drama that we've seen in the previous games because it was chalky. But and of course, disappointed that Aaron Rodgers continues to be successful against my Bears.
No, and our money line, I feel like, so we gave out the Texans and Bears as our dogs. I actually think that both of those were on the right side. The Bears led for a majority of the game, and Houston, I mean, the score indicates that they got blown out, but the handicap was Deshaun Watson was going to be dog shit, and he was. I mean, they scored 3 defensive/special teams touchdowns. So, frustrating that our dog parlay didn't hit, but, that's why we're back for more this week.
Absolutely.
And transitioning into week number 14, this is the final week of buys, I believe. I think there might be one or two, or you can't have one because if you're going to have one, you got to have two to even up the numbers. But I think it's the final week of buys. We got, I think, 6 teams on bye, including Washington and Chicago. So you will not hear J Mark and I preview our own teams for once, which means it's going to be a happy Sunday.
It's a great Sunday because I know the Bears will not lose. 100% guaranteed they're not going to lose this weekend.
So that's your lock. The Bears will not lose, -110.
Absolutely.
So obviously we got Thursday night tomorrow. Interesting game with Vegas and LA. Make sure you tune in to Scott and Terrell preview that one. We have the early morning slate games, and we have 7 games on our lineup. And then Moonoff and Scott will do the afternoon games. As for our games, what stands out in this 7-game slate that we're going to preview?
Well, this first one that we're going to talk about, the line stinks. There's a couple different lines here that I don't like them. They feel like traps. And so I'm interested to see if you and I are falling into the trap or not here.
Yeah, or maybe we just fade the public. That's been a successful thing, successful trend over the last couple of weeks. I feel like fading the public is more successful as you go along in the year because it's more situational spots, fading teams that are due for some regression, aka the Minnesota Vikings potentially. We'll dive into the Vikings, but I mean that's why you see Dallas Cowboys going to Minnesota a couple weeks ago where they're laying points, and everybody's like, "Well, the Vikings are 8-1 or 7-1, whatever they were at the time," but it was a trap line because Minnesota was due for some regression, and we saw what happened. I mean, Dallas won by 40.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the books in Vegas's way of putting up that little Star Wars guy that it's a trap. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, no doubt. Um, before we get into this slate, I need to get us paid, and I'm pulling it up right now, so bear with me. Yep, here we go. WinBet, obviously, it's been our sponsor all year, and shout out to them. Ready to win money and boost your odds. WinBet is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. We're bringing the excitement of Win Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Exclusive rewards are right at the fingertips with Win Rewards on WinBet. Looking to get involved in same game parlay? WinBet is your home with their WinBet. Build your own bet, letting you customize what you want to make today. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WinBet. WinBet has what you need to win. Ready to play? Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet 100 to win 100. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so that they know that we sent you. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the same state where you play through WinBet is available. If you or someone has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700. We are also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. We're back with the Underdog Fantasy, and if you haven't signed up already, you could still get a 100% deposit match up to $100 when you use the promo code SGPN. Just go to underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match. Underdog is a great for their weekly battle royale format, as well as getting an early start with their playoff best ball. Underdogfantasy.com/promo code/SGPN. And yeah, it is speaking of fantasy, the fantasy playoffs are here. So
Yeah,
those that tuned into this show, we won't give out player props or fantasy angles, but just keep in mind with the handicap of how we're handicapping games in terms of which sides we like with your fantasy lineups going forward into this weekend.
for sure.
So let's dive into it, man. And we are going to start with the stinky line right off the bat. The line that rakes to high heavens. Minnesota is 10-2. They continue to find ways to win ball games. They're going to Detroit. Detroit is laying 2.5. No, that's not a misprint. Detroit is laying 2.5. Over under 52.5. What do we do here?
Geez, it's got a scratch in our head, right? Because the
Yeah.
line, it stinks. And I get that Detroit's been on a good run. They really have. Surprisingly, they've gone on a good run, but the Vikings have been on a pretty good run too all year. So I don't know if I get it. I mean, if we're comparing offensive talent, the Vikings have more. If we're comparing defensive talent, Detroit is feisty, but I still feel like the Vikings have more. So I just don't understand this line. It stinks. It feels like a trap, but this is one that I'm jumping into the trap. Give me the Vikings plus 2.5. I think they win this one. This just line just seems wrong. What do you think?
Well, playoff scenario wise, if the Vikings do win this game, they clinch the NFC North, so that would cash your preseason ticket. But I think it is going to be held off for a week. I am going to lay the points with the Detroit Lions. Like you said, the line does reek. Last year, these two teams played in Detroit as well. Detroit beat them on a walk-off touchdown, exciting game. Looking at it, for a team as good a record as the Vikings are, 10-2 this late in the season, it's only been like one or two times where they've been an underdog against a team that's under 500. The last one, 2004, where the Atlanta Falcons went to Tampa Bay and they got drilled by 4 touchdowns. I think this is another spot where Vegas is telling you something, and I'm not going against it. So I'm going to lay the 2.5 with the Fighting Dan Campbells.
Yeah, that's probably the smart move. I just can't bring myself to do it because when I think about it, like We had a line earlier this year. It was the Tua concussion game where
Yeah.
Miami was the dog, and everybody's like, why are they not favored? And then they lost even before the concussion. They were losing. There's one other game like that this year too, and it's just one of those things. Like everybody jumps on these dogs, and that's how the books are making their money, right? I mean, they're
No
not
doubt.
idiots. They're like, oh, I can't believe they put it like this, and then it ends up being the right side is the favorite. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but it does make me nervous taking the Vikings. Just can't bring myself to take the Lions. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Cook and Jefferson. And this isn't prime time, so I'm going to trust Kirk Cousins here. If this was prime
Wait,
time, it might be different,
well, if we had to watch the Lions in prime time, that would be something.
right?
Another trend that's ironic is the last time the Vikings were favored was the week I was talking about last year, right at this time, December 5th. They lost to the Lions. That was the Lions' first win of the year. Finally, Dan Campbell got over the hump. And it's crazy. The Lions have covered 4 in a row against these Vikings as well. Seems like these two teams always play close games as well.
Yeah, for sure. They're like the other rival in the NFC North, right? We got the Bears, Packers, and then we have Vikings, Lions,
Yeah.
and the Lions, like you said, no matter how bad they are, they do tend to play the Vikings tough.
Yeah.
It's hard taking the Lions as a favorite.
I know.
They're great
I know.
dogs. It's hard taking them as a favorite though.
Well, their matchup in week 3, the Lions dominated for 3 quarters, and then the Vikings do what the Vikings do. They find a way to grind it out, win a close game, win it at the end. So it'll be interesting. I anticipate the Lions definitely getting a lead, but we'll see if the Vikings can once again rally.
Yeah.
From one divisional matchup to another, and this one's spicy over at the mothership station, and we got the Philadelphia Eagles laying 7 going to the Meadowlands, where the New York Football Giants are coming off a tie. Giants a little bit on a skid right now. This is a rivalry over under 44.5. These two teams hate each other. Everybody knows the history. NFC East. You taking the home dog here, or are you laying the points with the Eagles?
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say that Kramer and Sean will not be getting along this week, right?
No, yeah.
So I don't know if you're a math guy, but if you're doing math, your Commanders beat Philly. The
Yeah.
Giants tied the Commanders. So in a math equation, that would mean the Giants beat Philly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm going to buy into that math though. Philly is a really good team. I'm still not fully sold on these Giants. They looked great to start the year, but they have just been in this decline. And winning one game in the last 5. Though I do think the Giants could use the Commanders game against Philly to kind of put some pressure on the offense and defense in similar ways. If this was in Philadelphia, I'd feel a little bit different. I still think the Eagles win. However, Giants have covered 2 in a row against the Eagles at New York and covered 3 of the last 4 games. So I'm going to ride with the points here. With this line, it could end up being a push as well. But I'm going to take the Giants +7, even though I think the Eagles win. What side are you on here?
I'm definitely on the Giants here. I love taking the NFC East. So I always take the points. These teams all hate each other. It's rare that you get blowouts in these games, especially later in the year when it's cold. Over under's lower at 44.5, and the Giants have played it in a lot of in a lot of unders. Yes, one sharp shark. Kramer and Sean going to make or have more bad blood than Elizabeth Holmes this week. That's great. But I mean, we saw this last year when these two hooked up in New York, and the Eagles were rolling at the time, but the Giants picked them off 13-7. That's arguably Jalen Hurts' worst game of his career, I would say. I think he had 4 interceptions in the game. He was atrocious. I'm gonna take the Giants, and honestly, I'm gonna consider this as a dog candidate. This is a must win for the Giants because they've lost they haven't lost 4 out of 5. They've only won once in the last 5 because they have a tie in there.
Yeah, true.
But they have Washington on deck again. I mean, if you drop this one, then you drop next week. All of a sudden, you go from 6-2 or 6-1 at one time to all of a sudden on the outside looking in the playoff picture. I'm gonna ride the desperation spot because Philly can't afford to drop a game.
Yeah, agreed. I think Commanders get Giants next. Like they win the next one too. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's a given.
absolutely that's a given. I knew you would agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely an important game, but important game for Philly too, with Dallas hot on their heels, and the Commanders are, trending upward and have been for the past, well, since Taylor Heineke came in, really.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see if all four can get in the playoffs. I think that would be something. I know the NFL wants that because all are in big markets. So we are both on the Giants with the spread. I am more bullish on Kramer's G-men. I was talking to Kramer a little bit yesterday. Maybe he influenced my pick. So we'll
There
chalk
you
that
go.
up. We know Terrell, who will do the or he just did the total show. We know he is on his G-men as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. He feels very passionately about his G-men.
Yeah, he bitches every time that they're not in the top 10, and it's like he
Right.
just lost to the fucking Lions.
Exactly.
Moving along, we got I mean, this is we got a bunch of divisional matchups. That's another theme. I think 6 out of the 7 are divisional matchups in this early slate, with the one exception being the battle for Texas, which is a quite an inflated line that we'll get into. But this one, a rematch of the Monday night game. Cleveland going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off the big time win, as hot as anybody in the NFL. Over under 47. Does Joe Burrow and Houday rule the jungle keep it rolling here?
I think the Bengals aren't getting talked about enough. They're one of the hottest teams in football right now. And maybe they will be talked more about now that they kind of beat sorry, not Cincinnati. They beat Kansas City for the third time. Smoke and Joe is playing good football. And these
He's very good.
Browns, they play Joe does not play against the Browns well at all. We know that. But these Browns they aside from the defensive turnovers and special teams last week, they just don't look good. Deshaun Watson, I don't think it's going to be just a turnaround in 1 week and boom, he's all that better. And so I think the Bengals, unlike the Texans, have the ability to take advantage of a struggling offense that the Browns will have. So I actually like the Bengals to win this one by more than 6. So I'm gonna ride with them. How about you? Are you going with history of the fact that Burrow can't beat those Browns, or
It's interesting because I think it is a bad matchup for the Bengals because they struggle whenever they do play the Browns for some reason. Well, I know the reason. Myles Garrett. They struggle to protect Joe Burrow, and in that matchup a couple weeks ago on Monday night, they really bothered Cincinnati with their pass rush and their front seven. I'm going to take the Browns again. Once I don't think they're going to win this game, but I think this is going to be a tight game, especially kind of a little bit of a letdown spot coming off the big Kansas City win. All of a sudden, their Super Bowl odds have shrunk to I'm seeing 11-1, which is the lowest point at any point this season. And you touch on it. Burrow 0-4 straight up against the Browns, 2-2 against the spread. Obviously, he's a favorite this weekend, but it's weird. He plays Baltimore and Pittsburgh well, but he struggles against Cleveland in the battle for Ohio.
yeah, for sure. We'll see if Myles Garrett can rip anybody's helmet off and beat him with it.
Yeah, no, that would be that would be great. Uh, looking at Burrow when they're calling for cold temperatures. Burrow is 5-0 ATS when the temperature drops below 40 degrees. It's just another trend going in Burrow's way because Burrow seems to be not the new Brady, but he kind of reminds me of Brady in terms of he just finds ways to win games and keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with how they just kept winning without Jamar Chase. Then
Yeah.
Joe Mixon's out. So yeah, and it looks like in the chat, Limitless MMA agrees with you. Browns will keep it close, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, these two teams hate each other. That's my angle here. But if it's going to happen, Deshaun Watson's got to play a whole of a hell lot better because
Oh,
he was
absolutely.
atrocious on Sunday. Yeah, no, Houston should have won that game, but Houston is Houston.
All right.
So let's move along to another game. And this is a rematch of a couple weeks ago where the New York Jets pulled the stunner over the Buffalo Bills. This time the rematch is in Buffalo. Adam Peltier will be there. No, I don't know if he'll be there or not, but I'm sure he will be tuned in. He'll be fired up. Bills Mafia, laying 9.5, over under 44. What is the weather? going to be in Buffalo? I'm pulling up the weather right now.
Probably not good, right?
Yeah, I am looking at just a little windy, a little light rain. So where are you going here, man?
All right, so I outsourced this one. I went right to the Don of Bills Mafia himself. You already mentioned him, Adam Pelletier, our managing editor, big Bills fan. And I said, Bills going to cover? And he told me this: always bet the Bills.
A
So
lot of
I'm
analysis there.
right. Always bet the Bills. No, this Bills team is good. I think they feel, even though the Jets have done pretty good this year, I think the Bills feel embarrassed that they lost to them outright their last game. So I think they're going to be kind of, pumped up for this one. They want to get to some revenge there. And I think the whole Mike fucking White magic is about to wear out. I think these Bills are going to put enough pressure on him that he makes some mistakes. And I like the revenge angle. The Bills are the better team. I mean, when you break it down, Bills are the better team. So I like them by 9.5. How about you?
I'm all over the Bills here. I think this is a smash spot statement win for the Bills. Revenge angle, and we know the trends. Like when they win by double digits most of the time. That Thanksgiving game against Detroit was like a rare occasion where they didn't cover the number while winning. Looking at Josh Allen in the month of December, 13-4-1 against the spread. He's covered 8 out of the last 9. I think the Bills got second life with that Kansas City loss. They control the 1 seed. I think they come out firing in front of that home crowd. They make a statement and they roll over the New York Jets. I like the Jets, but I think this is a bad spot for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think the Bills will hold on to the 1 seed?
I think they will.
Yeah.
I do. I just, we said it at the beginning of the year. They are the best team in the AFC. They have the most talent, and Josh Allen is just so freaking good.
Yeah, I really hope they do because I want to see the Super Bowl and the AFC go through Buffalo. I want to see Kansas City go to Buffalo for a change. I want to see Joe Burrow go to Buffalo if that's the matchup as well.
Yeah.
So it seems like those 3 teams have kind of separated themselves. And I think home field's imperative. I mean, we saw it last year with Kansas City getting the last chance to win it there at home, and they came through. I think if the game's in Buffalo this time around, I think Buffalo's going to get it done.
Especially that Buffalo crowd, putting
Oh,
themselves through
they're the
tables and
best.
everything.
They're the best.
Yep.
And I'm sure it'll be like negative 10 degrees, which will be even awesome. So
They'll still have their shirts off, plowing
yeah,
through the table.
hashtag fuck dome football, as Colby would say.
That's right.
So we are both on the Bills there in the AFC East matchup. We're gonna go next to the Steel City, and this is quite the matchup because all of a sudden, obviously the big headline coming into this one, Lamar Jackson's status. Ravens going to Pittsburgh. These 2 teams with Harbaugh and Tomlin always comes down to the wire, it seems. Over under set at 37, so points will definitely be at a premium, clearly. Where are you going here, man? This is I'm looking forward to hearing your handicap because I think this is maybe the best game of the weekend in terms of Pittsburgh playing good football, heading in the right direction. Baltimore, not so much, although they are tied still for the AFC North. But I think they're struggling to hold off the Cincinnati Bengals for the division.
Yeah, no, I agree. And right now Lamar Jackson's questionable. They said they had said he'll probably be out this week. His type of injury, normally you miss 1 to 3 weeks. So I'm not expecting him to play. Tyler Huntley comes in. Now, Tyler Huntley had a really nice game in week 15 last year against the Packers where he just lit it up and did great, won the game for him, got the upset. I don't think that's going to be the same case here. With this Steelers defense, with JJ Watt when he's on, they're a decent defense. They're hard. They confuse quarterbacks. And I think they're trending up. Kenny Pickett has really started putting together some nice games, some nice plays. I wouldn't say he's proven that he's this great franchise quarterback yet, right? But he is a rookie. You're going to get some mistakes. I think he's improving, though. He's showing that he can improve. He can learn from those. The Steelers have started utilizing Najee Harris correctly and getting him more and more involved. He was, from a fantasy aspect, he was a disappointment all year until just his past couple games. And I just think with the Ravens, without the Lamar factor, I think Tyler Huntley's pretty good, but I just don't think they're able to keep up. And their run game really, besides Lamar, has been so-so all year. It's been good. You have a good collection of guys, but you don't really have anybody stepping up and making those huge chunk plays outside of Lamar. So I like the Steelers to win this one by 3. How about you?
I struggle with this one. Pulling up some trends with Tomlin against the Ravens as a favorite. He's only 6-12-1 ATS, including 1-8 in his last 9 against the Ravens as a favorite. I'm going to lean to Baltimore to cover the number. I think this game comes right down to the wire. Somebody wins it on a field goal. So when in doubt, I'm going to take the points. I could very well see Pittsburgh winning on a field goal by 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think it could come down to a Tucker field goal or Boswell on the other end for Pittsburgh. So I will I'm gonna lean to taking the points here, even though the status of Lamar. Let's say, all right, so let's play hypotheticals here. What if Lamar plays? What do you think this line goes to? A pick 'em?
Yeah, I think so. I think at that point you got to give them I would say 3 points, so they might be a half point, which is basically a pick 'em. So yeah, absolutely. He just, he's a different breed than Tyler Huntley, obviously. And so yeah, I think the Ravens are definitely elevated that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I it seems like whenever these two teams play, it always comes right down to the wire. It's going to be a physical game. The weather or the over under clearly says that this game is going to come down to the wire with the 37. Is that the lowest over under that we've seen this year? If it isn't, I mean it's right there. I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of
it's close.
I think there might have been a 36 in one of the weeks or maybe 35 and a half. But I know there's another 37 and a half this week with Tampa Bay and San Francisco. But yeah, no, this is a low total. Looking at the weather as well, because Heinz Field, or I guess that's what they used to call it. What's it now called?
It's Heinz
It's
Field to me. I don't
yeah. We always go through this that
right.
stupid name that they called it. It's going to be a cold day, windy day in Pittsburgh as well. So yeah, no, I feel 13-10 throwback physical football game. Every yard is earned.
Colby's going to love it.
Oh yeah, no. If there's a game Colby needs to tune into, it's Steelers Ravens.
Absolutely. The thing that scares me is the Ravens just about lost to the Broncos in Baltimore. So now going on the road at Pittsburgh. Yeah, that scares me. And I think Broncos have a better defense than Pittsburgh does, obviously, but I think everybody's got a better offense than Denver does. So
No doubt.
this will definitely be interesting.
Do you agree with me? This is a great tease.
Oh yeah.
Teasing Baltimore up to 8.5.
Yep.
So we stay tuned. We'll give out our lock dog and teases for week number 14 at the end, but that is going to be on the card most likely.
Yeah, and really, I think you could tease either side of this and kind of be on
Yeah.
the right side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could tease them Pittsburgh across 0 to 3.5?
Yep.
Yeah, because we agree. It comes right down to the wire field goal game. So speaking of a field goal game, we got another line that kind of stinks here, and we got those freaking Jaguars. I can't figure this team out. I started getting high on them once again. I've been high on them at the beginning of the year. Then I cooled off. Then I got back on them for my dog pick against the Ravens. Came through. Then they go get drilled in Detroit. They're going to the Titans, who are also coming off an embarrassing loss in the A.J. Brown revenge game. Over under set at 41. This actually is a sneaky important game because if the Jaguars can pull the upset, we actually have a division race coming down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, both these teams hard to figure out. And then it's interesting that Tennessee fired their GM when they're leading their division.
Weird.
So at that point, is there any drama or controversy involved in that? How do the players feel about that? Normally players don't go to bat as much for a GM as they do a coach, obviously, but still it's kind of a weird cog to put in this piece. But these Jags, I can't buy into them yet. I think they're close. I think they're close to being a decent team that gets talked about often, but they don't show up in games they should. Like last week, they should have been in that game, and they, for the most part, were killed. Just didn't make any sense to me to see them struggle so much. So I'm going to ride with the Titans here. I think they get embarrassed by the Eagles, and they're looking to bounce back. I think Vrabel is a really good coach still. So I think he gets his team pumped and gets them back here.
I struggle with this one as well. Because all the trends say take Tennessee here, but this is a public side as well. Vrabel and Tannehill, 12-6 ATS against the South as a combo. It's obviously very profitable. Vrabel, 5-1 straight up against the Jags, won 5 in a row. In the last 10, they've won 9 out of 10. But this is a close your eyes special. Jags underperformed the spread by over 21 points last week, so I'm going to take them to bounce back here. And I think this could be a game where Tennessee also wins it on a field goal, where it's kind of a dogfight. This is Jacksonville's last chance. I mean, if they have any chance at going on a run here to end the year, even if they don't get in the playoffs, go on a run to set the tone for next season. But if they do win this game, they're only 2 back, and they play in Jacksonville the last week. So it would be a little bit of a, hey, we got a race here in the AFC South. But I'll take the points.
Yeah. I was trying to look. Have you heard on Trevor Lawrence's MRI that they were doing on his foot? I know he didn't miss time in that game, but they were going to do an MRI anyways.
Yeah, see, this is also one of the hiccups that we have when we do the show on Wednesday, right? It's literally the injury report will come out an hour after. But he plans to play this week. So,
all right.
8 minutes ago. So, yeah, we're breaking news here on the NFL Gambling Podcast.
Now, if he doesn't, then his backup is CJ Beathard, and CJ Beathard is a Iowa Hawkeye favorite. So in my great state of Iowa here, we would love to see CJ come in there and beat the Titans.
Yeah, you could potentially have Beathard from the Hawkeyes playing while Brock Purdy from the Cyclones is playing. So a little Cy-Hawk magic here in NFL week number 14.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're on opposite sides there, although I don't think either of us will be locking that one.
No, absolutely not.
Look, another game looking forward to watching. And the final game of the early slate is ugly. The Houston Texans coming off a embarrassing loss, to be honest. That was embarrassing. They should have won the game. They're going over to Dallas, in-state rivalry or in-state matchup. I don't know if it's much of a rivalry. Dallas laying 16.5, over under 45.5. So with Dallas, it's weird. Like last week, Indy was right there, and then all of a sudden you blinked and they lost by 35. Yeah. So because where are you going here? This is an interesting matchup.
It is. So a coworker and friend of mine, Patricia Razor, huge Cowboys fan, which I've tried to tell her is a character flaw. But anyways,
no doubt. Promo code Dallas sucks.
That's right. So I asked her, I said, so this Cowboys, are they going to win by 17? And so from the insider, she says, no, they're going to win by 14. So I'm gonna roll with that. I think Lovie Smith's going to keep this team close. I think they're a little upset they couldn't beat the Browns last week. And again, Dallas, like you said, that game was so fluky. That should have been down to the wire, and then all of a sudden it just gets blown out by a couple plays. So I'm going to roll with the Texans plus 16.5 here. That's a lot of points in the NFL, so I'm going to take it. How about you?
It reminded me of the Bears game.
Yeah.
The Bears were right there at the end, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's 49-29. You're like, well, how the hell did that happen?
Absolutely.
I'm with you. I like the Texans here, actually. I think Dallas coming off a big primetime win, getting a lot of hype this week. This is when you want to fade Dallas. We've seen this over and over and over again. Yep. And I think they're just looking forward to Christmas Eve. That's what it's going to come down to. They need the Eagles to lose a game. If the Eagles can lose a game, then Dallas controls their own destiny. And, I'm going to take the Texans. I think this is another good tease opportunity. We'll tease the Texans up to 22.5.
Yep, I already got that in my tease. Yeah, because that's too many points.
Oh man, this is the NFL. This isn't Ohio State versus Toledo.
Right, exactly.
Or in Texas terms, Texas versus Rice.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're both on the Houston Texans. Too many points there, despite the Texans being god awful. I could also see like Dallas just completely taking their foot off the pedal.
Yeah, kind of coast through this game. I mean, it would make sense. We've seen a lot of teams and a lot of good teams do that this year. They face somebody who isn't as good, and we just kind of see them go through the motions and not cover those big spreads.
No doubt. All right, everybody. So we previewed and handicapped all 7 games for the early slate, and that'll get us into our lock, dog, and tease. My man, I will let you lead it off for your lock of the week.
All right, this one, it seems like a lot of points, but it just seems like the game that they're going to come out and win by a lot. So I'm going to lock up the Bills by 9.5. It's a lot of points, but I think they're going to get it done just because of the revenge angle.
I love it. I love it. I agree with you 100% there. Since you gave out the Bills, I'll give out a another number that I think everybody's surprised at their land points. I'm gonna lock up the Detroit Lions -2.5. Take the smelly line. They're gonna win the game. I think this is a game where just all the breaks don't go Minnesota's way. Detroit's keeps knocking on the door to beat Minnesota. I know they did last year, but every game they play is close. I think Detroit wins going away here. Good spot for him.
Yeah. I obviously disagree because I'm on the Vikings, but I like it. We'll see how it goes.
Let's see.
Fading the public is always a smart thing to do, though.
No doubt. Where you want to go dog-wise this week?
So I was going to go the Vikings, but that's just so small, and everybody is on the Vikings. They have so much money pouring in on the money line. So this is going to be a crazy one, but we're going to do it. I didn't even look up the line for it, so I'll do that as I'm saying it. But give me the Texans. Dallas gets caught going through the motions, and
That's
the
a dog.
Texans. Yeah, the Texans look to just kind of their last thing they can really do this year to feel good about themselves is win this game against Detroit, and the money line for that, against Dallas,
+950.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah, that is a big dog, and that's why you listen to this podcast. We don't
one
just
of those
give out,
where
yeah.
One of those where if it hits, then we'll tout about it, even though it's just such a long shot we're throwing out. We'll be like, yeah, we called that.
Hey, just like Carolina versus Tampa a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For my dog, I am going with Kramer over Sean. I'm taking the New York Football Giants to pull the NFC East upset, +300 on the money line against their division rival. I think this is a ball game. I think it comes right down the wire, so I will ride with the G-men at a nice 3-1 price here.
Just make sure your performance review is with Kramer, not Sean.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna hit him up in Slack right now. And be like, hey, I'm gonna have to go through you for these next couple weeks because I just took the Giants on the money line as my
That's
dog.
Right.
All right, so we teased a couple teas, pun intended there. Where are you going for your teas this week, man?
Yeah, so Texans +22.5 because, like we said, that's just too much. Bills, I'm going to tease them down to 3.5 because I think they're going to just win that game by a lot. Then I like the Steelers crossing to +3.5. So then even, we think it's going to be a close game. Even if they lose by 3, they'll cover the tees.
I like it. I like all those. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the Ravens +8.5. The other side of that tease. I already touched on it. Definitely taking the Texans +22.5. You're giving me 3 touchdowns in an NFL game. Take it every time. And last but not least, Jacksonville Jaguars +10. I think this single-digit game comes right down to the wire.
I like it.
So got those, and make sure you guys tune in to and follow us on social media because every Sunday morning we do release our NFL Lock, Dog, and Tease graphic. And for our audience out there, always looking for help. So looking for a potential social media person to help us expand our social media platform. So if you're interested, hit us up. Obviously, we're both on Twitter. You can hit up Moonoff as well. Any of us, we're all here. Or you can message the NFL Gambling Podcast Twitter account as well. Speaking of which, J. Mark, tell everybody where to find you at. I'm trying to get your for the YouTube audience. There we go.
YouTubers. Follow me on Twitter at JMarkFootball. That's the best place to find everything. Make sure you check out Old Fashioned Football. It was released Monday night. We have new swag. We got t-shirts and we're doing a giveaway. So make sure you listen to find out how you can get entered.
Yeah, no doubt. Make sure you do so. I am on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. We are both in the Discord. Hit us up anytime. You got some props. You got some dogs you want us to hey, One Sharp Shark. He wants to be a social media guy. Oops. So
we both clicked.
Yeah, we're both clicking on it. Here we go. There he is. Yeah, shout out to you, One Sharp Shark. If you want to be our help us out with some social media content, always looking for help. People that just want to be a part of the DGen Nation at SGPN. Everybody listening right now, if you could do us a favor as well, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever platform you are, please like, subscribe. It really does help the podcast with the whole long term vision of this. So please do so.
Give us
That's
a
all.
review.
Yeah, if you hate us, you can tell you say you hate us. I mean, hey, just give us a review. I mean, we're breaking down all these games so far this year, and we're giving out winners. I mean, we're definitely on the winning side this year. We're giving out some big dogs, so we're looking forward to finishing strong in this last quarter of the year. Jay, Mark, before we get up on out of here, you got any last thoughts before we depart?
Good luck to everybody in fantasy football trying to make the playoffs, and good luck on all your bets.
Yeah, I co-sign that. And good luck, everybody. Week number 14. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, same place for week number 15. And don't forget to let it ride.